If you were around before 2007, you probably remember the Thomas Guide. The Thomas Guide was a very, very thick book, and they were organized by county. A lot of the places people bought them, of course, were the big stores that sold all of the office supplies. Also, Costco carried them at that time, probably before your time, maybe. It was called Price Club. But you could go and you could buy this really thick book, and it would have maps of all of the streets in Los Angeles County, Orange County, and so on. So you could pick these up, and it was quite a feat. I remember on the police department when I first started, we didn't use Thomas guides. I take that back. Some officers, some training officers use Thomas guides, but as a brand new boot, you were required to use what was called an RD map. But both those types of mapping systems have really changed in with the advancement of technology. Now we have GPS. Now I believe police probably still use the old way as a backup, but they do have a better source, which is the technology to get them from point A to point B. They get a hot call, code 3 call. They're rolling with lights and siren. The reason why I bring this up is because with the AI architecture blueprint, the thing that I wrote a book about, talking about how we've just transitioned from the world of SEO or search engine optimization to artificial intelligence optimization, is going to change things the way that people publish content. It should change things the way you should be publishing content. If you're still doing it the old way, and maybe you outsource this. A lot of the outsource vendors out there, the people that are putting together content for various businesses, they're not ascribing to the new methods that need to be in play. And what I talk about in my book is getting into not just prompting. Prompting is important the way that you would ask an artificial intelligence engine to do something or to produce some kind of a content or to maybe even answer a question, giving it a role, a specific title. They might be doing that, but it's not so much the prompting as it is the actual response that you want to get out of it. So part of the prompting is going to include what the role is going to be. But in addition with that, you're going to want to develop how you want the response to be. If you want it to be a particular way, maybe you are just only interested in search engine optimization, which is the old search query that basically gives you several different responses or answers, but it really doesn't lay out one or even explain any of them. It just gives you the top results as how they're ranked by these different search engines, Google, of course, being one of the most famous. Moving from Google, though, into the new AI world, you have ChatGPT, which is owned by OpenAI, you have Grok, which is the Elon Musk brand or the XAI brand. You have Meta, of course, Zuckerberg with his Facebook. OpenAI is Sam Altman. You have Anthropic, which is the Claude models. You also have the Microsoft one, Copilot. You have that one as well. Don't use that one very much. And then, of course, Google. Yes, they have their own. That would be Gemini. So these are different large language models that have been put together. They've been programmed. They've been taught and they've been educated to be able to give particular types of responses. Now, in that education, they have particular alignments. A lot of people joke that this is really very much the Bay Area kind of Silicon Valley type of alignment when you are in other countries looking at it. To us, maybe because I'm in Los Angeles here. In California, maybe it doesn't shock me at some of the responses it gives. It seems kind of I'm part of that playbook. But when you go to other countries and they have a different mentality, a different operating platform, when they're asking it questions, it's not the same. At some point, more than likely, most governments are going to have their own AI that the citizens are going to potentially be required to use. Right now, it seems to be a little bit of a free for all where you can kind of, depending on what kind of infrastructure your country happens to have, you might not be able to get access to even this video because maybe it doesn't align with whatever the propaganda from your government they're trying to establish. Having said that, though, when you get into these large language models and you start to interact with them, and that's why I wrote the book, there are certain things that are going to be required now. When you're wanting the large language model to give your business, your real estate business, your local business, whatever it is, as a result, when somebody's asking the question, can you tell me a good real estate agent to use? Can you tell me a good plumber? My pipe broke. Can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? Those responses are no longer going to be so much dialed in with search engine optimization techniques, which would be just a lot of backlinks and hyperlinks. They're going to be more in a Q&A type response, question and answer. You want to give answers to questions that people have. So for your particular business, as I put in the book, maybe as a real estate agent, for example, people have questions about how to buy real estate, how to get pre-approved for real estate. What does that mean? What are those steps necessary to go through a real estate process and keep safe? What's the inspection process look like? If you have a pool, should you use the same inspector that you use for the residents for the pool? How do you vet to make sure that they're not just trying to get an extra few $100s from you? Or should you actually hire a different inspector? What about the roof? What are the things you look at the property? What if the neighbor has a very large tree in their backyard? And talking about neighbors, should you go meet the neighbors? When should you do that? Should you wait till you close escrow to go door knock the neighbors and see what they're like and kind of get a feel for the neighborhood? I mean, you're going to be there a few years, potentially 4.7, 4.9 years on average. The first residents, that's probably changed now. Those are a little bit old numbers, but at least you're going to be there for a few. And that being the case, when should you do that kind of neighbor meeting thing? People have questions about real estate. People have questions about plumbing, about roofing, about, how you do hair if you happen to be a beautician or have a salon. They have questions. So in order to be the best resource for them and to be found online when people are using large language models, because now they're using those to search, right? It used to be the Google, but now you have ChatGPT that's dug into Chrome. If you want to activate that, whenever you type in a question or a query, you're going to get the response from AI, not so much Google. And even on google.com, they have their Gemini overlay, which is their large language model. So it's going to be giving results also. So when you're putting content, when you're just doing a very simple blog post, a Facebook post, some kind of an update, you want to make sure that in that post itself, you're answering a question, at least one. But the content is really about answering questions, serving up the best information for people. And of course, whenever you put any kind of content online, as I referenced in the book, you want to make sure that you are making a link to some kind of page where somebody can give you their information. Of course, there's going to be more information there. Maybe you're going to be solving a problem. Maybe you've given some kind of a promise. I'm going to give you this thing for free. I'm going to do, I do basically an AI look at their business. I'll go through and their audit any particular business in my business, and I will go in there and I'll look and find out where they're positioned and how we can best improve that. So that's the offering on my linked to page. But also on there, I have an informational page. It talks about what the audit consists of. It's free, of course. We get into that. And then what I'm going to require for them to be able to do the most complete and best audit possible. And then I give them the feedback. And usually that audit involves some kind of a call that we have back and forth because I need to look where they are online. But in order to do that, it's much easier to do it when they're on the other end, whether it's them, their HR manager, their advertising and marketing arm, whomever that may be, but they're with me on the phone and we're on Zoom on the phone. We're on Zoom and we're going back and forth and I'm looking for the different tenants that are going to be required or at least need to be built out to be able to put them much better positioned in the AI search space. That being said, when you start to produce content, you want to tell AI that you need to have it coordinating with Answer Engine Optimization, AEO. In some spaces, when that term first started to be used more and more, it was Artificial Intelligence Engine Optimization, AIEO. Sounds like we're doing the vowel song, AIEIO. Is there even a song? I think maybe I'm thinking, what's that? With a oink oink here and oink oink there. All right, we're moving on. After this, once you haven't produced the content, there's going to be certain characteristics that each post or each blog post or each Facebook update is going to have to consist of. And you might as well get used to it now because you doing it yourself is fine, but businesses are going to be incorporating AI strategies, using AI to help them create content. They're going to be climbing on the very top of everything. So you want to start using it. And that reminds me, in the book as well, something else that's important is people often wonder, well, where am I going to start? What should I be doing? How can I best position my business and my, whatever I'm operating? How can I best position that? to be those results in the artificial intelligence results and the search engines, the artificial intelligence response engines. I say that you need to learn the content. You need to understand the different AI systems out there. If you want to make a picture, where would you go do that? How would you do it? Would you use Nano Banana and Gemini? Would you use OpenAI's model? Would you go to Copilot? Would you use Anthropic's Claude? What would be the best system to do that? Now, at some point, there's going to be some general system, but the thing we have to remind ourselves of is, what's the general system about? What do they want from us? Do they just want to be great and wonderful and just give us this fantastic opportunity to add, 30 or 50 IQ points to ourselves and use their systems, for $20 a month? Is that enough? Or is there going to be some advertising and marketing component where over time, and again, AI is very convincing. It's got our entire playbook. So that's something else I get into. Be wary, because it knows all about you. It knows the best way to sell to you. It knows the best way to advertise and market to you. And it knows the best way to influence you. If you have kids, watch out. If you yourself are working with AI and you're even on the social media platforms, it's all controlled. It's all published, a majority of it by artificial intelligence. And just like when you get caught up in your stream on your phone, you're on your video here watching YouTube or whatever it may be, you just stick and hours go by and you still have done nothing productive. Watch out for yourselves. Be good to each other. If you want to get the book, I'll link to it below. You can search it on Amazon. AI Growth Architect. I'm here. I'm Carno with Honor. Please let me know if I can help you. Of course, you can get to my agency at Santa Clarita artificialintelligence.com. My agency is known as Honor Elevate. And of course, that's .com. Be well. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.